Hello and welcome to the first ever Flat Out Podcast. I am your host, Lion Luke. On today's show, we have spiders that webbed out an entire field in New Zealand. Something about shoelaces, something about a whale penis. We have 5 dumb criminal stories. We might even throw in a little bit of Bill Nye the Science Guy. You all remember him as your childhood science professor, correct? Well, guess what? He's not a real scientist. Who would have thunk it? That and much more right here on the Flat Out Podcast. So let's go. Thanks for hitting that download button. I'm Lion Luke. Welcome to the Flat Out Podcast, the first ever Flat Out Podcast. And boy, oh boy, we got a couple of things to talk about today. Maybe you'll find it interesting. Maybe you won't, but I hope you will. And I hope you'll stay with me through this whole show. And as always, you can, as I get myself situated here, I am sitting in the downstairs living room of my house. My wife and son are cozy and asleep upstairs. And you got the dishwasher in the background, so I'm hoping that noise doesn't come through. But anyways, got a couple stories I want to get into today. We're going to be talking about this crazy science story that I found online the other day. And if you want to go check it out yourself, it's at livescience.com. Talks about these spiders in New Zealand. It says here, there's visitors to a New Zealand park recently found the grass blanketed, not by flowers, but by silk webs produced by what appears to be thousands. Let me repeat that for you, just in case you didn't understand. That's a T. Thousands of tiny spiders. Oh boy. No. That's what I say. No. So here's the thing. I'm not big. Like, I'm not real scared of spiders. I'm not like this guy that's, that you see on YouTubes and stuff that run away from these spiders. But here's the thing. Would you run away from one slow-moving zombie? No, probably not. You could easily outsmart it, get it out of the way. But here's the thing. What if you got thousands of zombies? Am I right? You're getting the heck out of there. That's what I'm saying. I'd noped right out of that place. There is no way on God's green earth. Well, apparently God's green earth ain't good enough for these spiders because they blanket it with webs. And I'm sitting here looking at the picture, and it literally looks like someone has coated this beautiful, and we all know New Zealand, right? If you've ever seen any of the Lord of the Rings movies, New Zealand is a beautiful country, okay? And it's this beautiful, just flat open field with this nice green grass, and on top of it, because the wind's blowing a little bit, you just see this shimmer of this silky material just kind of floating there. It's the creepiest thing you ever saw. It goes on to say that park goer Tracy Morris noticed something unusual about the scene on April 16th and captured video footage of the gently rolling silk waves. The web blanketed was approximately 98 feet long and as wide as 7 to 10 feet. Holy moly, that is a lot of webs. Says the New Zealand Herald reported webs covered ground near a soccer field at the Gordon Sprite Reserve in suburban, and I'm going to mess this all up, Papamoa, near the Bay of Plenty of New Zealand's eastern coast. Man, I don't know about that. Would it be cool to see? I think so, but I got a video of it. I don't need to go see it. You know what I mean? I can just that's what's the beautiful thing about the web and YouTube is that you can witness all these crazy things without having to experience it in real life. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm not an easily scared guy. There's not a whole lot that can make me scared. But if I see thousands of tiny spiders, that might that might make me want to run in the other direction. That's all I'm saying. And here's a funny thing someone had to say about it down here. Comment on it. It says, I would have noped out of that place as soon as I seen just one, much less thousands. Hey, buddy, I agree with you. It says down here that says studies. Let's see. Studies show that the silky cover is made of sheets of web spun by the members of the sheet web spider family. This guy apparently studies biomaterials like spider webs. Explained that the sheets were made up of not just one type of spider silk, but typically several silks with different properties, whatever that means. Let's go on down. Now, apparently, this this is the smallest form of what they call the sheet spider, and apparently, you can there are sheet spiders that measure up to 3 feet across. So basically, that's from like leg to leg, right? From one side of the body all the way to the other side of the body, 3 feet across. Now, I know that it said in this story that, it's the tiny sheet spiders, but could you imagine? Just imagine running into a field where there are thousands of 3 feet in width from leg to leg, 3 feet across spiders. Thousands of them, 3 feet. And they're just building these webs everywhere. I think the world would be ending. That would come to my conclusion right there. The world's ending. I'll see you later. I have nothing else to do. That's exactly right. The world has failed. We're being overrun by spiders. Boy, I tell you what. So this being my first endeavor into a podcast, I wanted to say thank you to whoever's out there listening, to whoever's actually downloaded this. Ain't no one listening to this. This is mainly a way to just talk about stuff that I find funny. You may not find it funny, and that's okay. Everyone has different tastes, but if you do, hey, I appreciate the download. I appreciate the subscribe. If you found it on YouTube, you can find this. I have to put it in the description. I can't remember the locations right now, but I'll put them in the description to where you can on YouTube, to where you can find the links to actually download it. Now, if you're wanting to find this on YouTube, it is Flat Out Podcast. That's literally the YouTube name, the Flat Out Podcast. And you can go on there, like, subscribe. That'd be great. Again, FLATOUT PODCAST, if I could learn how to spell once in a while. So here's the thing. When you're going online, right, and everyone does it, you go online, you're trying to actually look up legitimate stuff. You want to see what's going on in the world. What's going on and all this craziness that's going on in North Korea and the Americans with the Russians and the Chinese and all that crazy stuff that's going on over there. And after you kind of find that, you got all these little different links that, the little, what do they call it, clickbait links, where they're just showing this stuff like, hey, look at these 5 dumb criminals that fell asleep, right? Well, guess what? They got me. Oh, yeah. They got me. Ta-da! Yeah, that's what they're probably saying. So I figured, you know what? Why not go over some of these? Because it boggles my mind. Like, if you're going to commit a crime, do it right. Don't break into a place and then fall asleep. Why would you sleep into a place that you break into? You're wanting to steal their stuff, whether it be money, guns, goods, whatever it may be, and then you fall asleep you better make sure you steal an alarm clock so you can get up in time to get the heck out of there before someone comes in. And apparently this guy did such a thing. It says New Orleans police are seeking a man who broke into a preschool and made himself at home, complete with a meal and a little bed made of the child's stuffed toys. The man, who is still at large, and this was April 17th, so just a couple days ago, 10 days ago, what it might be. This guy's still not found. It says the man was at large, was recorded on a security video camera near midnight Sunday, entering Claire's Little Lambs Preschool Academy through an unlocked window. All right, I want to stop right there. For one, why is there unlocked anything at a daycare? That's what I want to know. Why is it that you have anything unlocked in that daycare? Okay? There is absolutely no reason that any doors, windows, whatever should be unlocked to where one of those toddlers or maybe the older kids can get to it. Get out, get in trouble, get into things, whatever it may be. You lock your stuff up, man. You got kids around, and this is coming from a guy. I had my first kid 3 years ago. He just turned 3, and you want to talk about getting into stuff. This kid gets into absolutely everything, and this ain't just like some new thing that's popped up with children. Okay, it ain't like it's my only child is the one doing all this kind of stuff. They get into everything. They see everything. It's amazing what they do. They're able to see specks of dirt in the very corner of the room after you got done vacuuming and getting down on your hands and knees and making sure you got every little piece of grimy dirt you can off the floor. And he ends up going into the corner of the room and somehow being able to find, just sitting there using his little finger to pluck it out, enough dirt to put into his mouth. I mean, come on. As soon as he was able to start crawling around, he was getting into stuff. Everything. Cords, cables, whatever he could get his little grubby little mitts on. Your phone, the phone, you slobber all over your phone, and by the time you realize he's got it, guess what? It's time to get a new phone. So lock your stuff up, man. When you got kids, lock your stuff up, because if they can get into it, they're going to get into it. Okay? That's just the fact of the matter. Kids are little hellions. That's just the way it is. We love them because they're ours, but that's the only reason we love them, is because they're ours. No one else loves your kids. I'm going to tell you that right now. And you don't love anyone else's kids. Okay? And that's the plain truth. Even the ones in your own family. Do you love them? Of course you love them, because they're your family, or they're your friends' kids or whatever. But I guarantee you, if they ain't your kid, that love will disappear pretty quickly if you have to take care of them more than just a couple hours, or you're seeing them for more than just, the little play dates that you have going on and stuff, or you're going to visit your family or your friends with your nieces, your cousins, or whatever it may be. You get to play around with them, and then you get the heck out of there. And now that parent has to deal with the rowdiness that you've induced upon their children. Anyways, enough of that BS. Let's go back to the story here. It says the video also recorded him crawling back out the same window at 6:43 a.m. Monday before anyone could show up and run into him. It says he said he went into the fridge, got the food out that the teachers had stored in there, ate the food, made a sandwich with some chips and water, and just basically had a little party here. He's got a sandwich, he's got his chips, he's got his water. I mean, what else do you need? I said he took the food with him when he left. Said he could, let's see, Joseph from NBC said he could see very clearly on the camera that he apparently taken rolls of toilet paper. Hey, you know what? That's okay. And, I have no problem at all of someone taking toilet paper, because if you ever, if you're a woodsman or you live in the hills, like I was raised in West Virginia, okay? I was raised in the hills, and you don't even want to know some of the things that you got to deal with when you ain't got no TP. You know what I mean? When you ain't got the soft, cushiony of the TP, guess what? You're using Sears catalogs, you're using pine cones, maybe a stray leaf, and you just hoping to God that it's not some kind of poison oak. All right, so toilet paper, hey man, take the toilet paper. I'm fine with that. In fact, you know what? I'll set out a whole case for you. All right, just leave the food alone. The food is for the kids. All right, toilet paper is one thing. Food is something else. Let's take the toilet paper. And like I said, I'm from West Virginia. So, all right, I'm going to get into this little story real quick, since it kind of made me thought about it. I used to go to a church in West Virginia. It was ran by my uncle. Very nice church. Very nice people, of course, known them for a long time. The people that would go there, most of it was family. A lot of it was family friends and people that's heard about the church and things like that and would come to visit. And I tell you right now, you would be absolutely surprised, especially if you've never been in hill country, as they call it, the Appalachian states, or even in some places that are heavily wooded. You would be surprised at the lack of plumbing in these places. This particular church, I'll leave names out, but this particular church, and I don't even think they use it anymore. I think they've either discontinued it or they've moved to a different building. I'm not sure. But this church had outhouses. And you're asking yourself, oh, Luke, what? An outhouse? What's that? The younger generation probably don't know what an outhouse is. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's an outside toilet. Okay? It's usually got some type of structure around it, whether it be wood or concrete. It's literally just big enough for you to squeeze your whole hind end in there. And if it doesn't have a door, there's usually some kind of curtain, or there's nothing, on there at all. And if there's a curtain on there, and if you ever run upon one of these, okay, and you see a curtain, don't touch it. All right? I'm not going to go into the gory details, but just don't touch it. Because when people run out of toilet paper, they'll use anything. Again, the man that stole the toilet paper, that's okay. Take the toilet paper, brother. Just leave the food, right? So this church had two outhouses, one female, one male. And it's literally just it was a concrete building made out of concrete block. And you had a curtain and a stick that was on the side of the building you would grab that stick to move the curtain, because trust me, you did not want to touch it. And you went in there, and it was a hole in the ground that someone, when they built it, had put an actual kind of like a big step, and on that big step is the hole, just like you would a toilet, so you can sit down on it. And they got a toilet seat on there. And so, well, not all of them do. I've been to ones that don't have toilet seats, and I tell you what, when you really got to go, number two, figuring out a way to do that without falling in, that is a comedy show skit that should have been written years ago, and it might have been, I don't know, but that's gold. That's money. Shooting someone trying to sit. You ever been to a porta potty? Okay, that's basically the same thing, except for the porta potties are much, much, much nicer than the outhouses that you will find down in these places. So anyways, this church, like I said, had the outhouses, and it had a stick for you to move the curtain. Now, luckily, this one did have toilet seats. Thank God. Okay? But you still don't really want to sit on them, right? Because it's an outhouse. How often do they get clean? You know what I mean? I mean, when you're walking in there and you look down the hole and all you see is all the leftover food after it's made its process through the body, if you know what I'm saying, it's shit, okay? After it's made its process through the body and is delivered down there with the liquid, the urine, the feces, all that stuff just mixed up, and it's just a big hole is all it is, okay? And you think they're going to try to get a pump truck like they do the porta potties. You know, they go in there, they hook them up, they pump all that nastiness out of there. You know, they have that blue water in there that, you know, helps keep things sanitized and keep the smell down. Okay, you've been in a bad porta potty before where it literally almost knocks you out of the building. Well, imagine going to one, an outhouse. There is no blue stuff. Okay, this is in the hill country. These are people that are roughing it in the hills. Okay, there is no blue stuff to bring down the smell. Okay, these roads barely hold a Ford Focus, much less a big old freaking truck to come through there to pump these outhouses, because they're not going to do it, because you'd have to pay for it on your own dime. And man, I don't even know if they have them down there in that area. I could be wrong. And hey, you know, email me at flatoutpodcast@gmail.com, and I will gladly mention you on this podcast and say, you know what, you were right, I was wrong. Okay, but I don't think it's going to happen with this situation. So just imagine the smell. Do you remember watching the cartoons when we were a kid, and when something really stank, right? When something was just not at all a good smell, they had those little wavy lines coming from the source up into the air, you know, and whatever cartoon character ran upon that smell all of a sudden went stiff, its hair flew out, and it started turning green, right? Imagine that 10 times worse going into some of these outhouses that I've been to growing up. Then when I was old enough to learn exactly what they were, I'd say 13, 14, because I ended up moving from West Virginia when I was young. So whenever I would go back, after I'd gotten older, after about 13, I remember specifically, I was about 14 years old, and it was one of the trips I took down there to visit the family, and I went to the church, and I remember going into the outhouse, and it wasn't just a smell, okay? It was the worst smell. And you'd look down into the hole, and it literally looks like if you had a big enough member that when you sit down, it might not come up so clean. You know what I'm saying? You might be a dipsticking in the poo oil for a while. It was that full. And I was just like, yeah. And I literally would not go to that bathroom ever, that outhouse, ever again for the all of time that I'd ever been there. And I usually go once a year to go visit the family. I haven't been there in a few years, but I usually went about once a year. And I discovered that at 14. Okay, and it was that high. Imagine, you know, and I'm 32 now, so imagine all those years after, all compiling on there. I could only, in my worst nightmares, imagine how full that is now. Anyways, enough of. Actually, just one more story. You may not believe this, but there are family members of mine, and you know, other people that have actually told me that snakes can climb down in there because it's warm. You know, at night they go down in there because it's warm, because, you know, the feces is breaking down and it's causing heat and all that stuff. So it's warm for them. So they try to get down in there to stay warm. And, you know, you're going out for a little midnight pee or a midnight, you know, whatever. and you go sit down, or you zip it down. For the guys, we just got a zipper. Ladies, you have a little more difficult process to go through. But for us guys, could you imagine? I mean, have a couple drinks, maybe you've smoked a little, that's the good stuff, right? Maybe you've done that. And now you're going out there. You're not quite in your right mind to be able to tell what's going on in your surroundings, and you flop it out there to do your business, and then all of a sudden, ooh boy, that would not feel good at all. Now, the tinier brothers, I guess you ain't got nothing to worry about, right? Now, so stupid. All right, let's just move on to our next story. Speaking oh shoot, speaking of penises, we're going to stay on that subject. I got 2 stories for you involving a penis. One of them is about oh geez, it says naked man reportedly stashed 7 grams of cocaine in a surprising place. Now, I'm just going to let you guess on what that surprising place is, considering the topic we were just talking about. It says cops who found a naked man in the UK. I can't pronounce the city, and I'm not even going to try to butcher it, and I can't do it justice, so I just ain't going to say it. It's in the UK. It said cops found a naked man in a UK parking lot, discovered he was hiding a surprise. Oh, wow. A surprise. Secreted in his foreskin was 7 grams of cocaine. Now, for those of you who do not know what foreskin is, it's what the little Jewish babies get chopped off. Okay, it's the hoodie of the genital world. It's what keeps you warm at night for those who have the turtleneck, so to speak. Okay, so that's disturbing, for one. I mean, out of all the places that you could put, and 7 grams, that's a lot. Out of all the places that you chose on your body to put 7 grams of cocaine or anything, really, why the foreskin? Like that, why? I don't understand. Why would you, I mean, I don't even know how you could do that. Like, how do you like stretch it out? You like pull it way out there, shove the bag in there, and then let it snap back close like a rubber band so it seals up as tight as styrofoam lids? I don't know. How does that happen? I don't get it. I don't understand why you would do it. I mean, what if it busts? Can like cocaine like do something to your dick? Like if you got raw cocaine on your inside, and the foreskin's there to protect, all right? That's what it's there to do, is to protect the penis, the head of the penis, from getting bacterial infections. So here you are sticking a 7-gram baggie of cocaine in that area. What if it busts, right? They say that, if you swallow it, like, they put them in the balloons or condoms, they tie them up and they swallow them. If they were to bust inside your stomach, you're pretty much dead. Boom. See ya. There's no coming back from that. I mean, unless you literally do it in a hospital while you're laying in bed with the world's best stomach pumping power doctor right there with you, you're dead. That's what's going to happen. And putting up your rectum, up your poo hole, up the booty boo hole, yeah, that's the same thing. You got a lot of blood vessels going into there too. So if it busts, it's getting into your bloodstream. You're getting high as a motherfucking kite, and then you die. But at least you go out on top, you know what I mean? Because you're high. Okay. So it goes on to say here is that Joshua here was reported naked and yelling in the parking lot at 8:30 in the morning. Says the local journal reports that the 24-year-old struggled with police before he was transported to a nearby hospital. Says Hare, I guess that's one of the journalists here, Joshua Hare, was reported. Oh, no, Hare is the guy. Okay, Hare was allegedly homeless. Okay, let me just stop. You know how they say people on drugs and alcohol and things like that, addictions, gambling, I guess you can throw in there too, porn maybe, I don't know, I don't see, maybe. And they say that you normally don't change until you hit rock bottom. Well, let me tell you something, Mr. O'Hare. You hit rock bottom. All right, you're homeless. You're apparently running around at 8:30 in the morning screaming in some parking lot in the UK with 7 grams of cocaine up your dick. All right, you've hit rock bottom. There is no lower you can go. All right, no lower that you can go. All right, use this as a I mean, just if I would save the story, get the newspaper it was printed in, clip it out like, your mama and daddy used to do when you was a big football hero or something. They'd keep all your news clippings and all your stuff. Okay, clip this out and put this in a folder marked rock bottom. Reasons why not to become an addict again. And here it is, okay? It says he was allegedly homeless, was in a police custody when the baggie emerged. Oh, geez. How in the world does it emerge? I don't even want to think about how it emerged. It says, was in police custody when the baggie emerged from its hiding place. The baggie was later determined to contain 7.2 grams of cocaine. Though it's nothing to sneeze at, sneeze. Say hello to my little friend. That's what they do, right? Sneeze at. Crime Feed explained in April how smuggling large amounts of drugs in the body's various hidey holes is possible. It says Nick Redhead. Wait a minute. That can't be right. Redhead is actually someone's last name? Okay, Nick Redhead, who is representing Hare. Oh, he's a lawyer. Okay, a ginger lawyer. Is he ginger? Does he have actual red hair? That's what I want to know. I want to know if this Nick Redhead guy actually has red hair, because that would be the absolute funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Nick Redhead, who is representing Hare. Oh, wait, I just... Okay, so the guy's name is Redhead, the lawyer, Nick Redhead. And the guy he's representing, his name is Josh Hare. So, like, if it comes up on the ballot, we got Redhead and Hare, come on. That joke writes itself. Explained that his client was dealt with alcohol and drug abuse issues, and that Hare's mental health is being evaluated. Well, yeah. Duh. Only a crazy person is going to shove cocaine up their pee hole. All right? Said he fell into a coma and thought he was going to die. He is a high risk of killing himself if he continues to misuse alcohol. He has managed to stay away from alcohol pretty much. No, I think alcohol might be the least of his worries right now, because I don't think you're going to be able to get a big old Jack Daniels bottle in any of your orifices. Okay, and if you can, hey man, me and you can't be friends. That's for sure. I'm just going to put it that way. If you can get a whole Jack Daniels bottle in any hole on your body, me and you, we can't be friends. I'm sorry. Nope. Not today. Not happening. Can't do it. This is stupid. Why? I don't understand why. Really? Why? It's just so retarded. Speaking of dumb. Oh, shoelaces. Everyone has them, right? Unless you wear loafers or flip-flops or what they call Crocs. Okay. You got shoelaces. Tennis shoes, running shoes, dress shoes, ballet shoes, whatever. They all got shoe strings that tie them together. Well, have you ever wondered, you're just walking and And you think like you stepped on your shoestring, right? There's a difference when you step on your shoestring and you about kill yourself because now you're moving forward with that foot and all of a sudden, it gets jerked back because you stepped on your own shoestring like an idiot. But have you ever wondered, you're like, you know what? Why is it that my shoestrings keep coming untied? And this is relevant to my life because before I met my wife, I used to take the shoestrings and I would pull them tight like you would a regular shoe, right? And I would tie each shoestring into a knot right there where it comes out of the shoe. And then I'd cut the excess off. That way I'd never have to worry about tying my shoes because I hate it. I hate tying my shoes. It's just a meaningless, like shoestrings should literally be done away with already, for crying out loud. Just do what, we got all this technology. Why do we still have shoestrings? And better yet, why do we still have shoestrings that are made of such crap material that they're slippery as slime, and when you tie it into a knot, they automatically loosen back up again? It's just ridiculous. But you ever been walking, running, whatever it may be, and all of a sudden you look down and your shoestring's untied, and you're like, wait a minute. I literally 5 minutes ago bent down, took the 10 seconds that it takes to do the whole rabbit around the tree, rabbit ears down the hole, whatever that thing is, to make the shoestrings tight. Why is it now that all of a sudden, 5 minutes later, my shoestrings are untied? It's annoying. It's a hassle. I can't stand it. And ever since I met my wife and I had the one pair of shoes, that's all I had was one pair of tennis shoes. That's all I need. I'm a guy. You know what I mean? Guys don't need a whole lot of shoes. You have one dress shoes. You have, that you use to maybe go out for dinners and things like that. Go out dancing, whatever it may be. Then you have your, dress shoes for church. Those are only used for church. You might have a pair of flip-flops. You might have, one pair of tennis shoes that are old, so, you can work in them. Outside mowing grass, things like that. And then you have a pair of new tennis shoes or newer that you wear, out in town and stuff to look ever so fly, right? So I don't need 50 pairs of shoes. I just need 3 or 4 tops. And if you ask my wife, I only need the one because I literally wear my tennis shoes for everything. I actually tried to wear them with a suit and tie the other day for church, and I thought the Lord himself had come down out of the skies and was about to smite me right then and there, the way my wife reacted to it. But it goes on to say that science have unraveled a knotty problem. Ooh, nice play on words. The force behind the accidental untying of shoelaces. For the first time, researchers documented that the mechanics of shoelace knot, okay, let's stop right here. I want to know something. Now, has this always been a question of mine? Yes. Right? When you tie a knot into a piece of rope, that knot is staying there until you untie it or cut it or something like that, or it breaks. All right? It ain't going nowhere. But you tie a knot with your shoelaces, those bad boys don't last more than 5 minutes. So I've always wondered, why does it keep getting, I don't understand. I'm tying it tight, but somehow they're still untying on me. So yeah, this has been a question on my mind, and I'm sure I'm not the only one out there who's ever wondered that. But why on earth are there researchers studying this? Where are they getting, because I know universities and even some government agencies or outside sourced labs that have to get grants and get approvals and go before committees and all this rigmarole to get approved for money and funding to do whatever it is that they want to do, cancer research, whatever. But how did these people sit in front of this committee and say, we're going to figure out what I say. See here, we're going to try to figure out why your shoelaces come untied. We're going to try to figure out why our shoelaces come untied. So we're going to need $5 million, right? No. See ya. You ain't getting the money for that. Come on. For the first time, researchers documented the mechanics of shoelace knots in motion to understand what makes them loosen and ultimately fall apart. They discovered that walking and running produce unexponentially powerful forces, stronger than the most powerful roller coasters. Wow. They act upon both the shoelaces knot and the bows and loose ends. Wow. The fact that just walking and running puts your shoelaces, I guess I'd come untied too, puts your shoelaces through such force, more force than a roller coaster. Wow. That's nutty. It says, first the knot begins to loosen, of course. Once that happens, the action of the flapping ends accelerates the unraveling until the knot unravels, which happens very suddenly. The science wrote in a new study. I never would have imagined in a million years. And here's the thing. Before I picked out these stories, obviously I skimmed through them. A lot of podcasters, or whatever you want to call us, new wave radio or whatever, they research their stuff. They write everything down. They got like a almost what they call in the biz a run sheet, where it's basically you got this, and this, and you know what, this podcast is probably the most unprofessional podcast you're ever going to listen to, because I ain't writing down jack. I'll tell you exactly what I have written down here. I have scientists discovered why shoelaces untied. That's it. That's all I got. That's literally all I have about this story. And I had the site obviously already pulled up on my Google before I start the podcast, so it's easy access. But still, yet I'm reading it in depth as you're hearing it. So you're getting my live reactions here. You're getting my live stories, just the bullshit that's on my brain. That you got to get off your brain, man. You got to have an exit. Some people, work out as an exit. Some people maybe go, boxing, do sports where they're hitting people or hitting things to let out anger. Well, I'm not really an angry guy. I never have been. I had some anger issues as a kid, but I grew out of it apparently. Had some good parents that taught me all that stuff to not, there ain't no reason to be angry about things. And I just don't get angry. Do I work out? Of course, because I like to work out. It has nothing to do with about, burning off frustrations. I used to play football, in high school, and why did I play football? Because I was an angry teenager? No, because I loved football. I loved the smell of the grass, even the nasty smell of the locker room became just a comforting smell. Kind of like walking into your grandmother's house and always smelling mothballs. Mothballs stink, okay? But to you, that means grandma, right? So that nasty gym smell meant football to me. In the same way with wrestling. I did wrestling too. Amateur wrestling, Greek-Roman style. And I did these things because I like them. I love to do them. And I still do. I still get out there and I play a little football. I still do wrestling exercises that still keep me limber and still keep my mind as fresh, as it can be without actually competing to my wrestling background. Why? Because I liked it. Not because I got some kind of anger issues that I need to get over. Okay? But anyways, this is the kind of bull crap. You gotta get stuff off your mind. Okay? If not, it's going to drive you absolutely nuts. You're going to constantly sit there and think about it like, man, why do my shoelaces keep getting untied? Well, boom. There it is. Okay, that's one less thought you got to have on your brain. It has more force than the world's strongest roller coaster. That's why your shoelaces come untied. So this is what they need to study next. How to completely get rid of shoelaces altogether. Make them zippers. I don't care what you do. Make them look like shoelaces, but they're not shoelaces to where they don't have to be tied. And I know you got the little spring-looking little gimmick shoelaces that look like little springs at the end. Okay, but that looks stupid. All right? Any man walking around with these fruity tooty springs coming out their shoes deserves to get punched in the face. All right? Don't be walking around with springs on your shoes. Okay? You're not freaking Tigger. You're not bounce, bounce, bounce all the way. Okay? That's not what you do. So get some real shoes. Get rid of those springy things. I don't even know if they're still around. I don't even know if those kind of shoelaces are still around. I remember them. You know, middle school, high school. I remember those stupid springy looking little shoelaces that are all curled up at the end to keep you from having to tie them. Well, here's the thing. Okay, maybe don't get rid of shoelaces. All right? How about just everyone else in the entire world do what I did? You pull everything, you get the shoe to the exact type of tightness that you like, where it's tight enough to stay on your foot, whether you're walking or running, but it's not too tight to where you can just slip it off. You can just take your foot, back foot, whoop, pop it right off from there. All right? And then whoop, pop it right back in there, but yet it's still tight enough to keep the shoe on when you're in motion. All right? Why don't we do that? Why don't they have, okay, keep the shoelaces in there, but put like this little, I don't know, a little plastic metal gimmick on the end of it, and you tighten it up like you would a draw bag. You know, you tighten it up, and you move that little plastic or metal gimmick all the way down till you get it to the perfect tightness that you want, and then you cut that right off. Right? Just cut the rest of that slack off from there. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be real cool. I think Under Armour needs to get on that. Under Armour and Nike. I am selling you right now $1 million idea. Shoelaceless shoes. I'm telling you. It's catchy, right? That's a catchy. Shoelaceless shoes. No? Nah, that probably won't work. That's not very catchy. Anyways, so that's why your shoelaces come untied. Okay. I think I had this in the opener. Bill Nye. We've all know, well, most of us, I guess, around my age, should know who Bill Nye, the Science Guy, is. All right? You know, you remember his song, used to be on PBS. Bill Nye, the Science Guy. Bill. Okay? So, I was reading this thing. I was reading this thing on the internet I got the other day about Bill Nye, the Science Guy. And here's the thing about Bill. I'm going to pull him up here on Wikipedia, just so I can be completely sure here. Bill Nye, the Science Guy, was not a real scientist. Did you know that? He's not a real scientist. It's like those old commercials that you used to see, whereas I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. Yeah, you're not a real scientist, Bill Nye. So why are you giving political advice, giving this scientific advice on these news channels? And we all know that the what do they call it? The mainstream news nowadays is not very truthful. All right, not very dependable, but still, I mean, Bill Nye is marching because science is part of politics, and he's still wearing the stupid bow tie. I loved Bill Nye as a child, okay, because he taught me how to make a rubber ball out of Elmer's glue, okay, that I could bounce around for a couple hours until it dried out and just broke to pieces. But it says here that Bill Nye, the acclaimed quote-unquote science guy, wants to know, are you planning to march? The March of Science is Saturday, April 22nd. About 4 or 5 days ago, and Nye invites everybody, scientists and science advocates alike, to march in support of scientific research, which may see deep cuts if the Trump administration proposed budget is passed. All right, so let's not get into politics this episode. We are going to get into that. I got a future guest that's going to be coming on, and he is definitely a Trumpster. Okay, he's all about Mr. Trump. But here's the thing. He says a lot of interesting stuff. You know, the stuff that he says makes sense about Mr. Trump, Mr. President Trump. It's still unbelievable. Mr. President Trump. But here, and I noticed this a couple years ago. I was watching, I can't remember if it was CNN or MSN or Fox News or whatever, one of those people. And he's on there talking, you know, the talking heads are talking to him, and he's talking about legit science stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. There is no way that this dude, if I remember correctly, this guy was not a real scientist. Okay. He graduated from Cornell with an engineer degree. Okay. An engineer degree. Now, that's some pretty scientific stuff, but it's not the scientific kind of stuff that Bill Nye the Science Guy had to deal with. It's not the scientific stuff that he's talking about on these talk shows. And here's the thing: Bill Nye started doing stand-up comedy. Okay, after he won a Steve Martin lookalike contest in 1978. So yeah, he graduated from Cornell with his engineering license, but the dude turned actor. Comedian. He was a stand-up comedian for a long time. It says that Nye quit his job to become a full-time comedian. He quit his job of engineering to become a full-time comedian, and then he ends up landing the Bill Nye the Science Guy gig back in what was that? It wasn't the 80s, was it? It had to have been the 90s. Oh, back in 96. There you go. So from 78 to 96. You know, 78, he did his first stand-up routine. From 78 to 96, all right? He's doing stand-up. He's doing acting. He's got bit spots in certain things here and there, you know, playing extras. The guy is an actor, all right? At most, he's a smart actor as far as intelligence, because Cornell's a pretty well-established, smart college place. You know, obviously, I did not graduate from there, or I'd be able to come up with bigger words. But Cornell is an esteemed, there you go, there's a $10 word for you, esteemed establishment for higher education. But the fact of the matter is, the guy should not. And the same thing goes with just everyday folk. You know, they if you do not know science, like what they're talking about, why would you refer to Bill Nye the Science Guy? The guy's an actor, he's a comedian, he's a joke, and he was good at it. Made a lot of money. I think he's even got a new show out on Netflix. Go watch it. My kid loves it. Thinks he's hilarious. But that doesn't mean, you know, it doesn't mean I loved Seinfeld growing up. Love Seinfeld. Still watch Seinfeld. But that doesn't mean I want Seinfeld on my news networks telling me about science or telling me about politics. I want people that know politics to tell me about politics, and then I can go and do my own research to back up what they're saying, because not always true. Not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corby used to say. The fact is, Bill Nye is a Science Guy, is a comedian and an actor, and he done well for himself, all right? But why are you referring to this guy? Why are you referring to this guy for actual real science news? It just boggles my mind. It boggles my mind of the stupidity of the world we're living in today, okay? Why not go and get, like Neil deGrasse? That's a scientist. Okay, he's hilarious. He's funny. He's got he's extremely smart, but he's got a personality to him. Go get someone like that. Maybe he was too expensive, so they got Bill Nye the Science Guy. That's what it was. They went up to Neil and was like, Neil, we want you to come on MSNBC or CBS or whatever it may be. And Neil deGrasse's like, I want that chang chang, the bling bling, the juice. And they're like, well, how much do you want? He goes, I want it. Want what? It all. All of what? The money. I want all the money. All of it. I'm like, well, we can't afford to do that. He goes, well, here's Bill Nye's number. Won't you give him a call? He's seen better days. His show got canceled a long time ago. He might do it. And that's what happened. That's how I'm convinced that is how Bill Nye, the science guy, is getting on all these stupid. And I think he was on some award show not too long ago either. If I'm correct on that, I don't know. But anyways, this whole March for Science thing. I mean, science ain't going nowhere. Okay, science is literally the backbone to every single thing that we have going on in this world. Nothing that you see, no products, no inventions, no nothing. I'm talking about everything from curing the common cold or Nexium so you can have a less acidy stomach, all the way to your flat screen TVs, to your iPods, to your that's all science. All that. Science ain't going nowhere. And then you want to talk about, all the military, the missiles, the tanks, the ships, the new planes that they got. That's science. Okay? That's science. When Jesse Pinkman, oh, fuck yeah, science. That's science. So science ain't going anywhere. So I don't understand Trump, what they're referring to with the proposed budget cuts for the science is that Trump is trying to get rid of stupid science. Okay? Stupid science. Like, what was it? I'm not real for sure on the numbers now. But it was a lot of money that some scientists got from the government to monitor a lobster running on a treadmill underwater to see if it gets bigger. Yeah, I'll let that sink in for a little bit. And if you don't believe me, you can Google it. A lobster running on a treadmill underwater, and it was millions. It wasn't a couple $100,000. No. It was millions of dollars because these scientists getting paid. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure a tiny treadmill is going to cost you a few ducats. You know what I mean? Because you got to buy the tank and everything, I guess. But so they're diving down and they're getting these lobsters and they're taking them back to the laboratory. They're putting them in these tanks and they're making them run continuously on these little tiny treadmills to see if they get bigger. Well, of course they're going to get bigger. If you were to run constantly on a treadmill, would your legs get bigger? Yeah. It's called building muscles. It's called exercise. Duh. Please, government, give me the grant money so I can go ahead and do this too. Why don't you just go ahead and give me some money and I'll take some daggone shrimp and I'll put them on a Stairmaster to see if they get bigger. Give me millions of dollars to do that. Please. I'll make up some numbers, fudge it up. Whatever. Who cares? Who cares about that kind of stuff? And that's what Trump is doing. Trump is getting rid of that stuff. That is tax money coming out of our pockets. Okay? The civilians' pockets are paying for dumb science. And that's dumb science. That's stuff that doesn't even need to be around. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to these 5 little sleepy criminals. Oh, okay, I'm so sleepy. Says, camera catches drunk man breaking into business and then falling asleep. Why? Yep. All right. I guess I can give you a pass because you're drunk. All right. I've been drunk a few times in my life. Maybe more than I should have been in my younger days. And I don't think I've ever, in my drunken stupor, ever wanted to break into anywhere. Man, I just want to lay down and go to sleep. Or eat, or drink more. One of the two. One of the three. That was my thing. If I was so drunk, I wanted to lay down and sleep it off. And then I wanted to wake up and eat some mega breakfast. Like the biggest possible breakfast you can get. All the fixings, the pancakes and all the syrup in the whole entire world. All right? I never once wanted to break in. So if you're drunk and you're breaking into somewhere, that means you've thought about breaking into that place before. Okay? So this man in Austin, Texas, shout out to Stone Cold Steve Austin, 316, can be pretty laid back and kind of weird place, but this one got our attention. In late November 2014, 28-year-old blah 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 spent 20 minutes bashing down the door of Hudson's Meats in South Austin. When he finally got into the place, he grabbed a couple packages of sausages from the cooler and took them back outside. The security camera captured him walking back in and into the 40-degree meat cooler for a moment before heading to the office area, where he found a warm coat to put on and settle down for the night. So apparently he was so drunk he didn't know he was breaking into a place and stealing sausages and taking them back to his vehicle, or however he got there. They took him back outside and then came back in, got a coat, and went to sleep. So he's drunk. He's too drunk to realize he'd broken into a place, right? Once you're sober, where am I? What happened? Oh, well, dumbass. You're drunk. You broke into this place, but yet you still have the wherewithal to put on a coat and go to sleep. And then I guess he was found the next morning and charged with trespass. It just boggles my mind. Next one, drugs and siphoning gas don't mix. It was when a police officer in Idaho conducted a security check of a stranded parking lot early in the morning of August 14th, 2016. He was surprised to see a Jeep Cherokee sitting, parked next to a vehicle belonging to the street department of Hayden City. So this is a city vehicle. He was also surprised to see a funnel sticking out of the fuel tank of the Jeep, as well as a siphoning hose in the street department vehicle and a gas can between the two vehicles. So basically, he's stealing gas, siphoning the gas out. Said inside the Jeep, a woman was out cold in the front seat with drug paraphernalia sitting on the Jeep center console. When the officer woke the woman up, he realized that she was also sitting in a small, was also sitting on a small bag of meth. Backup deputies busted Alicia Wolf, of 22 years old, for possession and drug charges, and 25-year-old Scott Miller for siphoning the gas and burglary charges. So you're basically getting high on some meth, maybe a little cocaine, probably got a little weed sprinkled in there with a little bit of drinky drink, the little purple nurples, and you're going to go siphon gas out of a city vehicle. So you couldn't find, couldn't go to a bar, which you probably just left from, and siphon a civilian's vehicle. No. You got to choose a city vehicle, which gets extra close attention paid to them. Hello, idiots. They probably suck down tons of gas where they at it. If you ever siphon gas out of a vehicle, it is not fun. I can tell you that right now. It don't taste good. Don't smell good. It's not fun. You drink a little bit of it. Ugh. Been there many times. Many times. My dad was too cheap to ever buy one of those siphoning gimmicks where you like press down on the top and it would do the siphoning for you. Like I can't even think the name of that thing. Daggone, it's getting too late. That's what it is. It's getting too late. I can't think of anything. So anyways, there's a little gimmick. You put one into one vehicle that you wanted to siphon the gas from, and the other end into the vehicle that you wanted to siphon gas to, or whether a can or what have you. And you just press on this thing like you would if you were trying to blow up an air mattress or something, one of those little foot pedal things. And it just whoop, and it just siphon the gas through there for you. Ain't wanting sucking on no hoses. It says, let's see here. It says Florida man. Okay, down home. I live in Florida. Florida man Derek Walden was busted after a 6-hour standoff with police back in May. Walden got into a heated argument with a woman who called police at around 9:15 p.m. on the evening of May 18, 2016. After the fight began to get seriously heated, Walden then barricaded himself and the victim inside the apartment and threatened to shoot police if they tried to enter the building. Negotiators worked for hours, and at around 3 a.m. the next morning, Walton finally let the woman go. He then proceeded to fall asleep, enabling officers to arrest Walden, and he was charged with misdemeanor battery, felony, and a bunch of other lists here. What are you doing? So you stayed awake this entire time, right? You're arguing with your woman. You've taken her hostage now. The police are there. You stayed up until 3 a.m. And then you fall out? Had been something else to that. He had been drunk or something. Because listen, I've worked a 16-hour shift before, right? And then stayed up another 16 hours on top of that and went back to work. I've stayed up 48 hours straight before. And that's without any real kind of stimulus. That's not, I don't have a gun in my hand. I don't have cops wanting to come get me. I would figure that would be a pretty good stimulus to stay awake. The fact that you got cops with guns who are looking to put a bullet boop, boop, between your eyes. Okay? Stay awake, dum-dum. Stay awake, you big dummy. Ugh, freaking idiots. It says, oh, shoot, man. It says this one takes us to African country of, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Guyana. According to Pastor whatever, he and his family returned home from church on a Sunday morning early this September and called police after discovering that their lights had been turned off and the front door was forced open. But the police merely told the pastor to take pictures for evidence, so he gathered several elders of the church and returned to his home, where they discovered the suspected burglar half naked and fast asleep in the pastor's bed. Says when they finally arose, the suspect, they took him to the police themselves. Suspect told police that he had actually robbed the house twice. After getting some valuables the first time, he smoked some pot, which caused him to become drowsy. So oh, wow, man. What kind of ganja you smoking, dude, that where you just can't help yourself but to fall asleep? It's ridiculous. Oh, all right. A final story here says, man falls asleep in bedroom after stabbing woman to death. Wow. It says, according to reports, Roberto blah, blah, blah got into a major fight with Jans blah early in the morning, Sunday, November 13th. After the woman allegedly began to choke the man and beat her, I'm sorry, let me read back. After Siberia, which is the guy, Roberto, I don't know why they're changing his name. I'll just call him Roberto. Why do you got to put that big, long, freaking name in there that no one who doesn't speak Spanish doesn't know how to pronounce? All right, we're just going to call him Roberto because that's his name. After Roberto began to choke Jans, the woman, and beat her during a violent verbal argument, a witness who was in the home ran and called police. When officers arrived, they found Roberto on the floor. Found Jans Hernandez, the woman, on the floor, stabbed to death. The man was in the bedroom, fast asleep. Roberto confessed to killing the woman and was charged with second-degree murder. He is currently being held without bond. That's crazy, right? I mean, you got to be a crazy person to do that. I mean, granted, you got to be a crazy person to kill another person anyways, especially if it ain't some kind of life or death situation. If you just straight up murder somebody, stab, left them on the floor to bleed out, and then you go take a napsy, the stabbing made me so tired. Come on, what are you doing? Stab and leave, man. Don't you know the rules? Stab, gone. See you later. Catch me, in a couple hours. That's what's going to happen. People, man. Criminals are just, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand theft. I don't understand murder. I just don't understand it. I just don't get it. Why are you stealing? Why are you Why do you kill somebody? What goes on in your brain that is so disconnected that you kill somebody? Just straight up stab, and then you go take a nap? Come on. I mean, we've all stolen things in our life. I'm not going to say that. We've all swiped, back in the day when they had like the little packs of gum that had like 5 sticks in it, and you're a kid and you're like, whoop, and you swipe that little 25-cent pack of gum. We've all done that. And if you haven't, and you say you haven't, you're a liar. We've all done it. Okay? And then your mom whips you or scolds you, take you back, make you apologize, threaten to take you to the police. That's what my mom did. Okay? And here's the thing, brother. When you're raised right as a child, you don't do jack. Because as a child, you got your ass beat. And I'm not talking about, with fists and things like that. I'm talking about correction. You got whipped. You got corrected. And in a proper way that got your attention real quick. Okay? I stole that 25 cent piece of gum. My mom took me to a police station. Now, obviously, I'm sure now that obviously I'm older and I've talked to him about it since then, that the jig was in on me. The police knew everything, and they were just going to scare me to death. And boy, did they scare you. I thought I was going to jail. They had to take me back to the owner of the little establishment. I had to give back the gum. I'd already chewed a piece, so he only got 4 pieces back. So and I'd apologize. I'm so sorry. I don't want to go to jail. It's just, and if you stole something, you got punished. You got punished as a child. You stop the type of actions that are not acceptable nor tolerated in this world. You stop those actions right at the freaking beginning, right as a kid. Okay? My boy, if he ever steals something, you best daggone believe, he's going to be punished. Now, whether that's, I doubt it'll be whipping, because in this day and age, you can't whip your kids. Can't whip your kids. That's abuse. You can't whip your kids. And that's the reason our society has turned into shit, because you can't whip your kids. And I ain't talking about taking a tree trunk and whacking them upside the head and caving in their skull. No, I'm talking about you take your hand and you give them a hard enough smack on their hand or a smack on their tush, and it's usually covered in a diaper anyways. It's like you're smacking a pillow. Does it hurt them? No, it does. I ain't saying just haul off and whack. I ain't talking about that. Knock them halfway across the room. No, I'm talking about you put enough of a stank on it, as I used to say. Put some stank on it. Put enough stank on it. Put enough mustard on it, just to scare them, right? Like, oh, if I do this again, he's gonna get me, and I don't want that, right? It scares them. Oh no. And I tell you what, nothing works better than fear. Fear and humiliation work better than anything on correcting somebody. And if some of these parents in this world today would have just taken the time to properly correct their children, and that can be done through non-hitting ways too. It can be. It's more difficult. It's more time-consuming. And it's more patient-induced. Which, I'll be honest with you, I dare you to find a parent who has an extremely large amount of patience, because by the time your kid gets my age at 3, your patience is so paper thin that when a bug lands on you, you've lost your mind and you're going off at the world because your patience is that thin. I've been going about an hour here, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I want to thank you for listening to me today. And please email me, flatoutpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, if you have any topics that you want to talk about, I mean, I'm game for anything. Silly news, weird news, celebrity news, wrestling, sports, baseball, basketball, anything. I don't care. If I can talk about it, make fun of it, I'll talk about it. I don't care. But we got a guest coming on probably next week. Right now I'm just doing one podcast a week, trying to work things around in my schedule to be able to hopefully do more, especially if this starts doing well, and we get some significant amount of downloads. Maybe, we can, as a group, as the Flat Out Nation, I think I can call it. I think I just coined the term right there, the Flat Out Nation. Since WWE, the wrestling company, has the WWE Universe, we're going to have the Flat Out Nation. That's who you guys are. And I love you. No matter if anyone listens to this or not, or if it's just being broadcasted out there, some random dude, some homeless guy sticking 7 grams of cocaine into the foreskin of his penis is listening to it. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Go get yourself some help, but thank you for downloading the podcast. So, as always, like I said, email me, flatoutpodcast@gmail.com. And you can go check me out at Flat Out Podcast on YouTube. I will be posting the sound. Unfortunately, there's no video that goes along with it. It's just a bunch of pictures that are up there. I'm working with a guy right now who is good at he does his own videos and stuff, and we're thinking about kind of collaborating and having his videos be the background basically for the podcast, so you're not just staring at a stagnant picture on YouTube. So yeah, we're it's the first one. There's bound to be mistakes. There's bound to be, uhs and uhs and and all those stuttering words that you do. It's a brand new thing. It's a brand new thing to me. I love listening to them. I listen to a lot of them. Not a lot of them. I listen to about 5 or 6 of them. They kind of vary between sports and just kind of weird stuff. But I listen to them. I don't like them. And I thought, hey, why not me? Why can't I put something out there and just spill the bullshit off my brain and get half this crap off my brain? I might be able to think a little clearer during the day. Right now, my wife does all the thinking for me. At least that's what she says. Anyways, go ahead and email me, flatoutpodcast@gmail.com. Check out the YouTube channel, Flat Out Podcast, on the YouTube channel there. And as always, thank you for downloading, subscribing, liking, and listening. And I love you, and I'll see your ass down the road.